Evidence Pillar 1, the remote viewing sessions. To understand what the viewer actually delivered, you need the room they worked in, numbers on a card, a monitor who prods for senses and motion, and a trained refusal to name anything. No nouns, no front loading. First, anchor. What's the air like? What's under your feet? What's the rhythm? Then move closer, above, inside, after. Feedback comes much later, if ever. The ego stays out. The data stays weird and on good days useful. Session 1 started on physicals. The pen settled into repeating rings, tight arcs inside arcs. The kind you draw when you can't quite see edges but you can feel a pulse. Notes stacked in the margin, metallic honeycomb, hum, ion taste, cold clean air, no clocks. The monitor asked for structure. Pressure on the page increased. Composite, dense, engineered. Pressed for people, the line came plain. Quiet below, disciplined, time sensed, not counted. The monitor pivoted to above. Dark, faint color wash soon. Environmental truth before meaning. That's protocol. Session 2 carried the operational weight. The queue narrowed. Observer inside, post-initiation. The drawing ran a corridor with rounded shoulders and baffles that looked like lungs. Intake dampened, variable. The viewer wrote, then underlined rotary, along a central spine. Rotary units equals life support rhythm. The monitor asked time. Not now, soon, after sky-tinge, before noise returns above. The word window surfaced unprompted, then surfaced again. The monitor cut, reset, and blocked for bleed. Standard hygiene when the mind wants to chase nouns. Session 3 brought temporal cueing, the trickiest pass in the toolkit. Anchor in a present moment, slide plus minus, return, and report only what repeats. Twice, on different attempts, the same hour band appeared, late season, bracketed by drills and deliveries. After a break, the same band reappeared. The viewer wrote confidence medium, then added a caution circle, window narrow. Good viewers don't puff certainty. They mark cadence. Now the ground truth you can measure. Metallic honeycomb reads like modular hex cells tied to a central spine. Exactly what a scrub plan showed before someone replaced hexes with rectangles. Rotary units and hum aren't poetry. They're screw compressors and variable speed fans and acoustic enclosures that set a 120 Hz bed you can feel in your ribs near a bench. Ion taste is what high-efficiency filtration and trace ozone control leaves on your tongue in ultra-clean, recirculated air. No clocks isn't a flourish, it's a policy we heard from workers. Paper watches at intake, bezels stripped, swapped at rotation. The baffles are a smoking gun in whispers. Procurement listed intake dampening verification, the phrase that escaped in FOIA boilerplate and margin codes. An acoustic sub published a demo app to validate Category 3 signatures. We recorded the bench hum and watched the curve lock onto their template. Software doesn't care about stories. It cares about spectra. Validation in RV always lives in rhymes, not photocopies. The viewer's rings match hex pitch. The corridor's rounded shoulders match negative pressure design in sub-basement plans. The rotary spine matches commissioning checklists titled Rotary Shelter Units, Balance. The no clocks line matches dead front panels sold without LEDs and training slides on time distancing. Each sketch note found a receipt with the same edges. Temporal data is the soft underbelly, so we tested the window against calendars that don't care about belief. Rail oversize runs, submittal stamps, municipal tie-in approvals, thermal plumes settling from spiky to steady, and that soft auroral night that outran its KP forecast. The viewer's narrow band hugged two surges, pre-tinge staging and post-tinge commissioning. In between sat the glow. Either luck kept hitting its mark across agencies, vendors, and hillsides, or a schedule was built around the same marker. Then there's the line that made the hair on our arms lift when we found it twice in the same hand, days apart. They go under before the sky changes. It's not grand. It's actionable. On the night the sky tinged pale over cul-de-sacs, magnetometers jabbed harder than inputs justified. Star trackers took longer to settle, and by week's end the bench's thermal breath had flattened into a steady line. Downstairs, rotation had a clock without numbers. Upstairs, forecasts called it active. Skeptics deserve a seat, so put this plainly. Remote viewing is not a magnetometer. It's a strange instrument you bring in when timing is fuzzy and the thing you're measuring refuses to stand still. It doesn't replace physics. It points you where to check. Here it pointed at air with an ion tang, a hum with a heartbeat, baffles that swallow noise, a spine that breathes, and a narrow window anchored to a harmless-looking sky. We chased each line with stone, sound, heat, and invoices. The sketches didn't prove a bunker. They proved a cadence you can feel through your shoes if you stand still long enough to hear it. Evidence Pillar 2, Impossible Physics, Public Clues. Start with the distinction the cue quietly leaned on: reversals versus excursions. Reversals flip polarity over millennia, too slow to schedule drills. Excursions are lunges, regional shielding drops, geometry gets messy, then strength creeps back on human time. The lost jamp is the cautionary postcard. Radiation rose at altitude, compasses lost their manners, life carried on. Not doom, just a noisier world that punishes long wires and precision. Meanwhile, satellites keep drawing the present tense in unflattering detail. Swarm's maps show the South Atlantic anomaly spreading like a bruise, Canadian strength shrinking, Siberia's patch hardening. The North Magnetic Pole racing towards Siberia fast enough that agencies refreshed models and pushed higher resolution tools for polar approaches. NASA calls it a dent. Operators call it a place where star trackers sulk and memory flips spike. That's the upstairs drumbeat you can't sweet talk away. On the ground, the mismatch shows up where math should be boring. Mid-latitude auroras wander south on active forecasts that shouldn't stain cul-de-sacs green. USGS traces jab in crisp local bursts while upstream solar wind looks modest. Output outruns input. If the magnetosphere's coupling point slides because the shield wobbles from within, small pushes land like big ones in the wrong zip code. You don't need prophecy to expect friction. You need pattern memory. Aviation feels it first because cockpits hate ambiguity. Polar routes log HF hiccups more often, GNSS advisories thicken on touchy nights, and pilots write terse remarks. Unusual settle, variation updated. During the spring and early summer surges, dispatchers padded fuel, filed conservative alternate plans, then sheared the margins once the glow faded. No panic, just respect for a boundary that occasionally moves. Grids translate physics into invoices. Utilities bought neutral blocking, harmonic filters, and GIC monitors, the honest kit for induced currents. Sensible, cyclical. The tell was tempo, awards ahead of the soft glow, commissioning stamped days after. Reinsurers widened exclusions to geomagnetic events irrespective of solar origin. That's how money says, we don't care why it flickers, we care when it flickers. The calendar is the risk. Public procurement let a few phrases slip that nobody in comms was paid to explain. Electromagnetic and geomagnetic mitigation, bundled with environmental control, underground. Intake dampening verification tucked beside park improvements. The same ARK-3 index string-hopped scopes like a railcar changing labels without changing cargo. You don't need an annex to hear intention when the same words keep falling out of different mouths. Back to physics, because the human brain wants a lever. When intensity weakens regionally, shielding thins most where it's already thin. Particle precipitation swells, ionospheric currents knot, and long conductors become antennas for slow bruises. Lines see neutral drift, pipelines juggle cathodic protection, rail signaling grows touchy. Severe storms do this loud. Excursion like Wobble threatens to do it longer, softer, everywhere you forgot to overbuild. Policy mirrors that with a straight face. Model updates arrive on time, then early, then at higher resolution. Agencies don't say excursion. They say navigation safety and critical infrastructure. Universities accept grants to study noise, return equipment sealed for review. Publish later with newly careful scopes about anomalous coupling. Everyone tells a version of the truth tuned for a press office. A microstory refreshes the stakes. A regional dispatcher watched a week of active forecasts deliver 2 nights of aurora far south of habit. His log filled with little failures. Star trackers taking longer to settle, GNSS position filters working harder, HF fading on routes that usually shrug. He cross-checked upstream data, modest. He still sent a note upstairs, carry extra fuel. That's how one man's risk model bends around a physics detail he can't name. Unknown to them, across town, hillside benches with thick bases exhaled on a schedule, and a state lab's magnetometer winked sharp, then polite. We fed the intake's hum into a vendor demo meant to validate baffles. It flashed Category 3, like we'd borrowed their test rig. That's the sort of public clue that looks like a toy until you put it beside delivery dates and thermal plumes that flatten from spiky to steady in a week. Surprise is the algorithm's favorite food, so here's the prediction error baked into this story. You expect CMEs to be the villain. The mismatch is nights when the sun doesn't justify the show, but neighborhoods still glow and precision hiccups propagate. That gap is where insiders place drills without sending a press alert. It's why quiet occupancy starts before anyone admits the sky changed. Now take the viewer's narrow window and lay it over. Public calendars that don't care about conspiracies, model refreshes, substation installs, resilience exercises, NOTAM clusters, insurance riders going live. Before the tinge, staging. After the tinge, commissioning. By week 2, rhythm. That's not a bunker fantasy. That's ops. Skeptics always ask for a falsifier. Good. Here's one. The next time a mid-latitude glow arrives on a modest forecast, watch upstream data, watch ground traces, and walk the benches. If the hum steadies by week's end while invoices move from bulk to maintenance, the window is real. If not, throw this in the bin and call it a pretty sky. Either way, the test is public. Impossible physics? No. Inconvenient timing. Public clues? Everywhere, once you stop reading press releases and start reading the calendar like a seismograph. The shield wobbles, the boundary slides, the money moves, and under your feet, the intakes breathe in time. That's the entire trick, hiding in plain sight. Evidence Pillar 3, logistics of the ARKs. We treated ARK-3 like freight, not myth, and the network started confessing. Rail first. Yardmaster's logged midnight consists flagged SGL. Special clearance for oversized loads. Flat cars carrying shrink-wrapped cabinets labeled environmental machinery. The routes were boring in a comforting way. Industrial mainline, sleepy spur, then a crawl to docks that don't exist on public museum floor plans. The escorts were small. The silence was large. When the tinge week hit, those oversized runs thinned. Smaller trucks took their place like a heartbeat finding resting rhythm. Last-mile geometry told on itself. Educational storage, permits poured deeper dock pads, widened doors a foot past standard, and specified hinge metallurgy you see on submarine hatches, not archives. A scrub plan we'd already cached had hex modules ringed around a central spine. The re-upload replaced the hexes with rectangles, but forgot to change door leaf weights or negative pressure notes. Geometry got a mask. Physics didn't. Air leaves fingerprints you can hear. Ridgetop parks with new benches set on thick bases exhaled on cold mornings. Downwind, your ribs pick up a soft 120 Hz bed with a 30-minute swell and a 6-hour crest, like a building doing yoga under grass. Maintenance called it ground heating. In July, the acoustics vendor's demo app flagged Category 3 when we fed the recording. Intake dampening isn't a slogan, it's a signature. Water paperwork is blunt because water doesn't pretend. City boards approved loop tie-ins and parallel mains to tiny parks and museums. Parallel means you can isolate a line, flush tanks, and keep pallets breathing. Backflow preventers were upsized. Isolation valves multiplied. Under new manholes sat pressure regimes that belonged to people, not paintings. One agenda called the change collections care. Collections don't drink. Cold chain lines gave the calorie math away without saying food. Inventory sheets listed archival media freezers rated to -30 and controlled environment racks 600 mm pitch. That 600 mm spacing matches high-density shelving and stacked microgreen trays. A glossy brief bragged about rapid cycle leafy production in heritage environments, paired with insect protein pilots for education. The partner institution sat on one of our nodes. Exhibit is a friendly word for calories. Mechanicals made the euphemism honest. Rotary shelter units showed up on commissioning checklists. We traced the phrase to rotary screw systems and sealed pods, vibration isolated, acoustically enclosed with ion filtration. Control panels were dead front, no blinking digits, status by color wash. If you're erasing time, you design out numbers. If you're disciplining rhythm, you let light be the metronome. Governance language shadowed the hardware. Continuity memos stopped promising a single capital and started naming regional nodes with workspace, life support, secure comms. A footnote coined quiet occupancy, followed by rotation discipline, 2 on, 1 off. The line matched the 6-hour thermal crests and the paperwatch kits in a staffing catalog. Analog faces with blank bezels, issued at intake, swapped at rotation, reclaimed on exit. A caution in small print, do not mark bezels. Intakes need rules as much as filters. A training vendor sold modules for time distancing, low stimulus conflict de-escalation, and light wash programming. One slide said, remove clock cues, no LEDs, no audible ticks. Another mapped reacclimation for when above returns slowly. That phrasing lived in a margin note on a rotation brief the day we realized the benches were breathing on schedule. Cover stories did the heavy lifting. Museum renovations bought forklifts at 1 o'clock and a closed stairwell for a season. Mine stabilization justified drilling and venting where the bedrock behaves. Data resiliency sprouted concrete cubes near substations with louvers that matched intake spacing. Planning commissioners nodded through. Press offices said security. Utility boards approved harmonic filters and neutral blocking near 2 nodes. Reinsurers expanded exclusions to geomagnetic events irrespective of solar origin. Money doesn't argue physics. It prices cadence. A microstory turned logistics into a face. A night custodian watched a small group emerge from a freight elevator, pale, quiet, identical unbranded duffels. No phones. One woman stepped into the air, stared at a paper watch, and didn't speak for 3 minutes. They said, "Don't count down there," he said. She needed the second hand. He didn't know her title. He didn't have to. The rule was the job. We mapped nodes by necessities, not myths. Each sat within an hour of a major hospital, an airport, a data center, and a state emergency office. Rail fed docks. Docks fed spines. Spines fed honeycomb cells. Cells breathed through benches. Intake grids hugged an ancient bedrock trend line a geologist traced with a fingertip. Stone that behaves, they said. Tunnel where the rock doesn't heave. You build your life support where the earth is boring. Capacity hides and flows. Count intakes, estimate baffle size and flow per base, multiply by cells, cross-check against looped mains and freezer tonnage. You don't get head counts. You get a range that says thousands per node on rotation, not hundreds. The energy curves, we saw them in thermal, hint at 2 on, 1 off. Long crests every 6 hours. Smaller swells at 30 minutes. A human schedule embossed on machinery. Rail taught us pace. Oversized deliveries surged, then fell off after the tinge. Box trucks took over at dawn on weekly ticks. Commissioning forms with ARK-3 headers. Intake dampening verify, pressure test, acoustic performance, moved from bulk to maintenance. Inside, rotation started to feel like a verb. Outside, hillside heat flattened like a held breath. We went looking for a lie and found an omission. No one says bunker. They say workspace. No one says occupancy. They say resilience. But stones don't pulse every half hour by accident, and parks don't exhale on a grid.